Beloved Creator within and without, today I was directed by the Creator energy within me to recognize the importance of trust. We're like a muscle that tightens and relaxes. As creatures programmed for survival, we are either in trust or in fear. The fear is the tightening, the tension, the adrenaline that is built into us to survive whatever peril is at hand. The relaxation of that tension, the calm, the trust, is its opposite. Because of our nature, we are open or wary, depending on our life experiences. If more wary, we find ourselves needing proof of trust for our own well-being. Of all that we encounter in life, the greatest is our trust in a higher power. It is the most assuring force, the most calming force that exists. We are so very grateful for you, for our awareness of trust, and our need to find relief in this knowing. Let it be so, and so it is.
My name's Ron Vroman. I'm the old white man talking head for the Oregon Statewide Jural Assembly. I have about a page to read. This part right here at the top that ought to be good enough if you want to really know what it is. I have watched most of this video, The Matrix and the Constitution. There's a lot of truth and a lot of bullshit in this video. As usual, I cannot let an infringement upon my unalienable rights go by. I will not acquiesce. This is where I'm going sidetrack. I'll get back to this script. But that's the part that people get or don't get. I'm almost convinced of it. When that point comes that you're just not going to take it anymore, then it's arrived. And to those people that point has not appeared, they have not had that epiphany, you and I look crazy to them. How could we do these insane things? My brother says to me, people that do kind of stuff you're talking about go to jail. Well, shit, why do you think I'm doing this? Anyhow, the point is, family that doesn't arrive at the 3% where we are may or may not arrive. But it's a terrible hardship, I think, to be thought of as crazy, off. Aida calls me a radical liberal. How in the hell she got there, I'm not sure, but she's right frequently. Anyhow, I have a granddaughter, a bar attorney, that the first time I got arrested, I contacted her and she said, Gramps, plead guilty, promise never to do it again, and everything will go away. But I'm not guilty. Doesn't make any difference. That's what I recommend. And at the time, she was a Sacramento County Deputy District Attorney. 6 foot, 155, 160 pound solid woman, an athlete, 35, granddaughter, brother, 6'5", 240, 73, an athlete. Both so far into the de facto that they cannot stand to have anything from the de jure shake their de facto. I'm almost positive that that's the truth. And that's what I'm dealing with. And I can't fix that because I didn't do any of this. I just found it and I won't acquiesce. And neither will a lot of us. So back to the script. So I started commenting, and I comment all over the internet. If there are about 75 comments, then it's worthwhile. I'll make a comment and communicate with some people. If there's 1,000 or so, I don't even bother reading or looking at the video because if I hear it, I can't acquiesce to it. I have to rebut it. That's old white man logic. So rather than to look at it, when I already know from the first defect it's not quite right, at that point, I like to operate at that point where people are really thinking about what the hell is going on and what the solution is. The guy that did the Matrix and the Constitution, he got it right on Franklin, Jay, and Adams, and others. They were the king's men and traitors. Read the first page of the Treaty of Paris. Esquires. They were all esquires. Fraud vitiates all contracts, partially or completely. That is yet to be decided in a court of law, whether or not that treaty is treasonous. But it only takes two to call treason, even this many hundreds of years ago, and to straighten out the record. Fraud vitiates all contracts. It sure does, either partially or completely. I have read a lot of treaties. They are all de facto, illegal, and illegitimate. Black's Law, 6th edition, page 416. It's also published at www.oregonsja.org. It must be on purpose. Then they used the Bouvier Dictionary, 1880, Book 2. That's what they referred to, which is not valid. Mike School made this same mistake last night, or the night before. We're talking. He says, I have Bouvier out in the garage. I'll go get it. He went and got it and brought it back, and he had a Bouvier 1836. It's not the book. And Bouvier 1880 is not the book either. So in that video, they use Bouvier 1880 Book 2, which is not valid. It is the 1856 Bouvier Dictionary, and that's published at www.orsja.org. That is constitutional. Then the top of the page reads, United States of America. That is bogus. There are only two lawful, legitimate names. The United States of America, as styled in the Confederation and Perpetual Union's Articles, 1777. Then the United States, as created by the United States of America's Constitution, circa 1859. that is relegated to no more than a 10-mile square located in Washington, District of Columbia, ports, forts, and needful buildings. However, look at the map of DC, it's not square. Virginia took their portion back. The BLM, Department of Forestry, Department of Human Services, FBI, IRS are de facto color of law incorporated for-profit businesses, not government. There's a bunch more. Now, that's the truth. But people like my brother and my granddaughter get irritated and angry with me when I confront them with this information that if I can find, oh well. I got several comments posted pointing out their errors. Then YouTube censored me. I cannot post a comment for 24 hours. This is the second time. I got one last week also. We have been hit twice with video removal on YouTube in the last 4 years. Brighteon has no problem with our videos. We wouldn't have had that one had I notified William in advance. Say one wrong word. One why. Oh, but it's commerce and it's business, and they own it, so they can do it. And I agree with that. Scary about Elon, though. Him and his X, and Twitter is now X. I think things like Antichrist when I look at that guy. The land for the building must be authorized by each state's legislature. It never is. They're all suspected to be like the Marco Hatfield Federal Building, a bogus eminent domain taking. I have documents from the attorneys for the GSA. It states, and it's signed by 2 U.S. DOJ attorneys. The city of Portland is a subdivision of the county of Multnomah, is a subdivision of the state of Oregon, is a subdivision of the United States. That is not an Article 4, Section 4, a constitutional Republican form of government. It fails. The title on the Multnomah County as recorded as United States of America. That entity, but it must have a bailee. That entity, United States of America, has to have somebody appear with the keys and the paperwork to support that claim. They must have proof of ownership. For the United States, the federal government, or any of that ilk to own land on Oregon for forts, ports, and needful buildings, the legislature must have passed authorization. None was passed. So we provided them with documents at the Marco Hatfield building. I think that was August 1st. Yep, well over 6 months. A grand jury record Article 3, Amendment 7 verdicts published at www.orsja.org. We have filed for quiet title, foreclosure, and eviction upon the GSA, the U.S. Department of Justice, the U.S. Federal District Court Article 1 Court, DHS, and U.S. Marshal Services. That same work must be done at every other example of color of law, criminal behavior of the same kind. I say Eugene is the same as Portland, and then you go to all the other states, and I believe it'll be true. They'll all be bogus federal land without the proper bona fides since 1865 or 68, something like that. The paperwork is bogus, and it's sealed by their court. They will submit to quiet title, but will the 6 landowners underneath that plot of land that they built that beautiful building on, there's 6 landholders. The land was taken eminent domain, but there's still 6 landowners. And they get all the documentation from Multnomah County. The guy told me what it looks like, Ron, is a temporary structure on bare land on paper. The whole thing's fraud. So the video is worthwhile, but discernment is needed. It looks like they want to flip this de facto form of governance into another form of de facto governance and continue the fraud under another name and definition. That's what it looks like. We got to stop it this time, this year. Or they are stupid. I doubt they're stupid. These guys have been running this game for 113 years on Oregon. Let me see. If we have figured it out in our assembly, I think that every person elected to government is informed by those in government what they were in, and they acquiesce to it, and they joined it. But I don't think they thought it was evil. But it is. If you're supporting a lie that supports evil, you are evil. You got to get out of that. The only way out of that is with a proper oath to a proper constitution, 2 constitutions, with God included, and to step from the de facto illegitimate illegal into the de jure legal Oregon, a constitutional Republican form of government. And I yield.
They do not want to let go of this. They do not intend on losing here. And we do not intend giving it back to them.
And then the bullets started flying. Then he jumps out of the car. And he's got both his hands up. And he got out of the car, and he had his hands in the air. He's like, just shoot me then. This is what you want, just shoot me. And they did. They shot him dead with his hands in the air, and I saw it. I swear to God. He was just walking with his hands in the air. And they shot him. And they shot him dead, and then after he was down on the ground, they shot him 3 more times.